What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with Joe's Kwame Fisher-Jones. As always, I am him, and I'm joined by NJ.com general assignment reporter Chris Franklin as we break down some, NFL news and notes activity. You ever heard the phrase, a fool and their money will soon be parted?
No, but I like that.
It feels like that's what you never heard of before. I guess I'm really showing my age. The grades are really popping now. That's what I feel like every free agency, whether it be the NFL or the NBA. And I'm watching what's going on with the 76ers. Quick story. We're talking NFL and we're going to stay on the NFL, but I got to tell you a quick story because you don't know this. Only like maybe two people know this. So every day, probably about 4 or 5 times a day, I go to my phone and I look to see if Joel Embiid has been traded or if Josh Harris has finally sold the Sixers. Every day, about 4 or 5 times. I'm not gonna lie, I do it, and I know it's like unlikely, but I hold out hope. So today, NBA team sells for record $6 billion. So, dude, I am like, yes, it's got to be only a Northeastern team would sell for that much. No Southern team, and the Clippers and Lakers not. Yes, they finally got rid of them. It's the damn Celtics.
Yeah.
Beat us to the punch again. And
Hey.
it's like the Philadelphia 76er fans that keep going and supporting the Josh Harris product. Like, I won't even go see the Sixers on the road. I'm infuriated and incensed by what Josh Harris does, but I consider myself not a fool. So I'm not going to be parted with my money. Now, I'll take you there to bring you NFL teams during free agency. Bad teams always spend a lot of money during free agency. Good teams are very meticulous, maybe prudent with the way they spend money. And usually your consistently good teams are very like frugal with it. But there's always these bad teams that are just throwing money out there. And before we get to any other team, I got to ask you, what the hell are the Seattle Seahawks doing?
I don't know. And that's the crazy thing. When you look at Josh Snyder, he is one of the top tier, top third GMs in this league. And
Allegedly.
the
Allegedly.
oh goodness. And the fact you see they get rid of DK, they get rid of Geno Smith. Tyler Lockett, I get it. He was getting older. He had to move. I get it. But to bring back Sam Darnold and then to sign Cooper Cup, it looked like panic moves. It looked like they had one plan going. Something fell through, and then it was like, uh-oh, we still have to field a competitive team. Okay, who's out there? And you look at the you would think if you're going to get a quarterback, get rid of your Pro Bowl quarterback. Why? You better have a succession plan in place. That deal Darnold got is effectively a 1 year, $37 million deal.
Yeah.
And they're going to find themselves and they can pick up the option, but are you really going to pick up the option when you don't have any big time receivers that Jackson Smith and Jigba? You're pairing Jackson Smith and Jigba with Cooper Cup because it's like, wait a minute. Oh no, we do have to have another weapon there because we let go DK. Cooper Cup, who you can't rely on reliably to stay healthy. So I'm looking at all these moves. And for me, I don't know what they're doing. And oh yeah, okay, 49ers are they're going to not going to be as good as they were in the past couple of years. So they're
They'll
taking a
still
step
be
back.
competitive.
You still got the Rams, and I know I hate saying this, and
Here
I'm
we
biting
go.
my
Here we
tongue to say
go.
it.
Here we
But look
go.
at it. I'm going to say it. I want to say the Rams. They'll be. I think Cardinals will be competitive. I'm not even going playoffs this year. I'm going to say they'll be competitive in games.
The Dallas Cowboys of the Southwest.
Yeah.
That's what the Arizona Cardinals are, or the West. That's what the Arizona Cardinals are. Look, for me, it's DK Metcalf. I hate the phrase overrated, but I do believe he's a little overvalued. I think he's a solid receiver. I don't think he's that much of a difference maker. He's had 3,000 yard receiving seasons, but in this day and age, it's not really as much as a milestone as it used to be. I worry about his catch rate, but aside from that, I don't understand two moves. The first move is you release Tyler Lockett. Okay, that's fine. And then quietly, you hire Jason Peters as a team mentor. And a lot of people will think, well, what's wrong with that? Well, let me ask you a question. You bring in a guy that's kind of a vagabond that's played with multiple teams. Yes, he's a Hall of Famer, but most of those guys on the team probably aren't going to know who Jason Peters is. Or do you keep a guy that's a franchise icon, a guy that's put on major numbers, a guy that will probably have his jersey retired do you maybe keep him around for one more year as a mentor? Just a thought. And then the second one is Sam Darnold. Is Sam Darnold better than Geno Smith? If you say yes, I'm not going to argue with you. You say no, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to do this phrase. So, I like to work out, right? And, people always talk about nutrition is the big part of working out. And I have a phrase. I say, it's like pizza or French fries. You say, what? Both, both, it's not much difference between either one because neither one of them is good for you. So if you want pizza, you eat pizza, it's still bad for you. You eat French fries, is still bad for you. So it doesn't matter which one you eat, still bad for you. It doesn't matter which quarterback it is, Geno Smith or Sam Darnold. Neither one of them is good for you. So if you sit down and you got Geno Smith under center, or you got Sam Darnold under center, you ain't going anywhere. If you sit down and eat pizza or eat French fries, you're going to gain weight. You get the point? So it's just
Yeah,
like, it seems like they want to. Cooper Kupp, I get it. He was from Eastern Washington. It just seems like they want to. It's like they want to be bad, but they don't want to be bad. They want to, they want you to think, oh, we're being active, so you won't say we're rebuilding. You won't say we're tanking because Quentin Grimes is, no more Sixer references. We won't say we're bad, but it'll just be like, if Sam Darnold wins 14 games, we look like geniuses. If he doesn't, it's supposed to be a deep quarterback draft this next draft coming up. I mean, what say you?
I think it is. That move can only be by a general manager who knows he's got security. And problem is, here's the thing: they haven't consistently won the last couple of years. So you've changed the coach already, and you're
Yep.
still not having success. It can't be the coach. If the two coaches, Pete Carroll and one, can't win, and you don't have the players to do it, they start looking at general manager. So he's acting like he's got security. I
Mm.
don't know if he's got that much, but the Seattle, and I like your point saying like, okay, these like Quentin Grimes references. Yeah, it's like, well, we developed a great guy we can use as a piece next year. What are you gonna do with the pieces this year? Like in 2026, like it's not going to work. And
That
you talk about that quarterback draft. If you're really, if you really, oh, you can't say that. If you're really, because if you say tanking, oh, general man, NFL, yeah, oh no, we're not tanking. We're retooling or we're retrofitting what we have here. If you really are trying to retool, quote unquote, or retrofit, why are you adding so many of these players and these pieces if it's a
yeah.
deep draft? Archie Manning might be the top guy coming out there. He's going to be the top guy, and I think he's going to be the best quarterback that comes out that draft next year. You're really going to keep adding stuff in so that you can take yourself out of the running for it? Either commit to it or not. You can't play both sides of it.
I wonder if they're going to consider. So, we're going to talk, John. We're going to talk draft in a second. I wonder if they have their eye on a couple of guys in maybe a quarterback or two in the draft that they believe is going to slip. Their best quarterback in franchise history to me would be arguably Warren Moon. Second best would be Russell Wilson. Those guys weren't top picks in the draft for different reasons, but they weren't top picks in the draft. So I just wonder if they've got a different direction they plan on going, or they got an eye on somebody and they just kind of want to have Darnold as kind of a gap year, if you will. Cooper Kupp kind of a gap year. I'm not up on their practice squad wide receivers, so I don't know if they've got anybody in the stable that can be a thoroughbred. But it just seems that I understand you getting rid of Geno. I understand you kind of hit your ceiling there. But then you bring in older non-players that aren't even. It didn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I give you the final word on the topic.
You brought up a very good point just now. And I didn't think about this, but it makes a lot of sense. If they are have their eye on there or somebody, a player who I think a situation that would benefit the most in this draft, and I really like this player, Jalen Milroe, because I
Mm.
think he needs a lot. He still needs some time behind. If I think Milroe would do best in a team that's similar to like a situation Michael Penix found himself this year. Let him sit, let him learn, and then put him in there late, either very late in the season or really to get a fresh start next season to know what you have. Because if you get him in the first round, i.e., the lower back end of the draft, I think he goes in the second or third. But if a team really wants to get him and get that extra year so they learn it,
I think he's going in the first.
I think so too. He's it's that 40 time helped him. But I think overall, I just look at his tools. He just needs refinement. And Seattle would make sense to be a team that would take a chance on him. And I think it'll be a good steal for them if they actually did that. So You are, yeah, that's a very good point. I didn't think about that. It's like
Well, I
that
don't know
really makes sense.
Where Seattle's drafting. I was trying to bring it up as you were speaking. I know that Jalen did very good in his interviews, and that is part of the big deal there. But here's another thing. Let's play. Come on, Chris. Let's play a game of let's just use cliches. All right, so they pick 18th. But let's just throw cliches out. It's a copycat league. We've heard that cliche before, right?
Mhm.
Well, we just watched a dude play in his second Super Bowl who was viewed as a project, who went to an organization who a lot of people won't know this on the national stage, but you and I know this growing up in the area. Culturally, the Eagles were a great landing spot for a athletic black quarterback. You know, they have a culture for that. They have a fan base for that. So it wasn't that big of a stretch or that big of a change of pace to bring Jalen in. Seattle does have a culture set for a phenomenal for a strong-willed black quarterback for a good black quarterback. I mentioned Warren Moon and mentioned Russell Wilson. I just don't think Jalen's going to last at 18. I don't think he's going to last at 18.
I think he does. I think Dart fall. I think Dart goes in that area. And I was looking at Seattle's picks, and you know what? They have ammunition to move up. They have two second round picks and two third round picks. Now, more what I'm talking about is that 50 and 52. I can see them packaging 50, one of those third rounders, and either a second or third rounder in 2026 to move up to the back end of the first round and get them.
Who are they going to trade with? Who do you think they're going to trade with?
Well,
New England?
there's a team with the 32nd pick that is amassing a lot of picks right now.
And
That
they're trying to
that's
save money. They're trying to save money because I don't understand the move. I don't understand letting CJ Gardner Johnson letting Chauncey go. I don't understand that, but that's not the topic at hand. So you think they're trading with the Eagles to get him at 32?
that makes sense. The Eagles will be one. The Chiefs will be another because they need to their cap strap and their offensive line is getting older.
I
Same with the
love
defensive
the
line.
Chiefs pick. I love the Chiefs.
That
I
one of
love the
those
Chiefs. Yeah.
27 from 28, even the Commanders. Commanders are moving around like crazy. And they could use it because in the next couple of years because they spend a lot of free agency. Somewhere along the lines from 29 down, I think that's a good spot for them to trade up, and they got the ammunition to do it.
I think there's going to be
Oh,
two guys that dictate this draft. One is going to be Shador Sanders. I am 10 toes down on the Giants not drafting Shador Sanders. And we've just transitioned topics. We're talking quarterbacks now, but I'm 10 toes down on the Giants not drafting Shador Sanders. I'm old enough to remember the first black quarterback to start a game for the New York Giants. That was Geno Smith. And that cost the general manager, not Floyd Reese. Was it Jerry Reese?
Jerry
Cost him
Reese, I
his
think it was
job. Cost him his job. Go back and do your Googles, people. Cost him his job. So, because it was a whole benching Eli thing, but the thing was, it wasn't so much they were benching Eli, they were just trying to get better draft position. And it just made more sense because Eli hadn't been effective. And it was a big deal because Eli had a consecutive start streaks, yada, yada, yada. I don't believe they draft Shador Sanders. I actually think they go Jackson Dart. That's me. That's my opinion. These were the guys that drafted Daniel Jones. Just saying. They're waiting on Aaron Rodgers. Just saying. Bad decisions being made. Just saying. I don't think they go Shador. If the Giants don't go Shador, it could be a long wait for Shador. I really believe that. I don't think Oakland's got any interest in him. Chip Kelly and Shador Sanders do not sound like a match made in heaven. We talked. I don't even know what other spots they can go. But the second guy that I think is a
Saints.
guy to keep an eye on is Mason Graham. I've seen mock drafts with him going in the top 5. So that's
I have a theory about this. I'll share it after. I got a theory about this.
so. But when those two guys make that move, that's going to be the deciding factor there of which way the draft goes. Floor is yours.
I'll start with the mock drafts though. We're in the early part of the time when
Yeah,
a lot of like the casual fans may not be looking until like say like a couple weeks before. So when I see mock drafts that have these outlandish things early on, going, "Oh, look at this guy, number 7, number 8," like you're like, "This is not that guy's late." It's like one of those. I need clicks right now. Okay, let me throw something together, get clicks. Nah, the Shador thing. I don't think personally, if the Giants land either Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, I don't
Yeah,
think they draft. I think they use number 3 with Travis Hunter because I think they just buy their time of 1 year and then move over.
yeah,
And
and
the
yeah,
also, the one thing I know Shador is accurate. The one thing that he gets knocked on is his arm strength. And also, when you're
yeah,
looking at you look at playing at the Meadowlands, that's why when I hear the Browns are going to take a quarterback, I think Cam Ward's going to Tennessee Titans. I think he's number one.
yeah.
Browns, I don't think they're using Shador two. I think they're going to go Abdul Carter or something like that.
Yeah, I
So
think they're going Abdul Carter too. I think it's I'm 100% with you. Go ahead.
yeah, and then they'll use Travis Hunter or trade back, and I think Travis Hunter. Now, other places I really think that he would actually do well in because of his accuracy, because of the timing, and because of the quarterback situation at the place with the quarterback only essentially having 1 year left, the New Orleans Saints. Because you look at Derek
Mm.
Carr, they're going to move on from him. Spencer Rattler's kind of we've seen he's not the guy. Kellen, and remember the rumor initially that Kellen Moore wasn't going to take the job because he didn't like the quarterback situation. So now you got
Uh,
Carr. Now you got that. If you get Shador Sanders, he lasts that long. You have your quarterback and the new head coach go hand in hand. Have him go at least 9, and then that's where he goes. And then if not beyond that middle round, it starts getting kind of really murky. Unless the
yeah.
Dolphins or something. It's crazy.
I don't know if he go. I don't know if Shador goes to New Orleans just because they got Carr. That may be a spot for a trade, for a team trading up. That could be a spot. And Alabama, that Alabama quarterback, that brother is moving up. Like you're just hearing so much about him. And, you know, you want to say it's a smokescreen, but I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is just because, like I said, let's play cliche again. It's a copycat league. It's a copycat league.
The more you really got Seattle and Milrow in my mind now. You really do. Because I forgot this as well. Well, two things on this one. Milrow, the one person he's talked to a lot, you mentioned this guy's name, he's talked to a lot to Jalen Hurts. And you do that one too. And then you
Yeah,
also know the Alabama winning thing. And you know, Howie and Schneider are pretty close among GM clicks. And I'm pretty sure he has, what was it like when you first started there? How was it like
yeah,
was taken? What's he like that? They're very similar personality wise.
yep.
They're very similar in skills. So I'm like more and more it's like Schneider's going to try to find his hurts to try to win.
It
It's just that,
makes sense because Gino may have, and this is something we don't know in the background. It's easy to sit there and have these conversations. It's like kind of the Luca trade. I'm going back to NBA. I'm like NBA star, but it's like there was something else going on that we don't know about. So it could have been maybe Gino wanted more money. Maybe Gino didn't like the quarterback coach. Maybe he didn't like. Maybe they didn't like something going on. So it made more sense to just get rid of him because he wasn't the guy for the future. I do wonder though if they have an eye on somebody that they think will be around. And normally in that situation, you have about 2 guys that you like. If you remember when the Eagles drafted Nick Foles, he was their second choice. The guy they wanted was Russell Wilson.
yep.
So it worked out well for Foles. Obviously, he's a guy that won a Super Bowl. I think he's got a jersey retired in Philly now. So it worked out well for him. But the point is, they had their eye on 2 guys. I don't think I don't believe the Giants are going to draft Sanders. And I think that's going to turn this draft on its head. Because now the talk is going to be where will he go? Aaron Rodgers slipped. Lamar Jackson slipped. Good quarterback slipped because maybe they don't want to go to that team. They had a bad interview. They don't like the coach. The coach doesn't like the player. They like the cut of his jib, whatever the case may be. But Jalen just fits so much the guy that looks like he's leading leading a team to a dynasty. And most NFL people believe the Eagles, at the very least, will be a top three team in the NFL as long as Jalen Hurts is quarterback and healthy. It's a copycat league, brother. I've said it 4 times. Now, we talked draft a little earlier than expected. I want to go back to free agency. I want to go back. What's a move or who's a team that You like, dislike, what's standing out to you? What's catching your eye? Good or bad? Doesn't matter.
The one, the team that seems to your favorite person, Josh Harris. He did the one
That
move.
dude.
I know they're the trade that to me the Laramie Tunsil trade was the most important trade and the most impactful
Mm,
trade and the best deal in I think so far in this in league made this offseason. Because think about the NFC Championship game. Look at all that pressure. Not even
yeah.
just NFC Championship game. If the Commanders are chasing the Eagles, look at the all those games. I think it was like 5 sacks in the Week 16 game, and they had another five or six sacks, whatever. I forget how many sacks in the NFC Championship game. You're trying to get out that division. You need to protect your quarterback. And the quarterback who's proven he can be one of the best in the league. You can't
Mm,
have him looking over his shoulder going, because you see what happens when they get hit too much. Happy feet and you go awry. So I look at Tunzel. I think he calms everything down on that edge. You got to worry about Micah Parsons. You got to worry about what Eagles. And I mean, they have good, and that's not to say it's bad because I like Nolan Smith and that. It's not to say they don't have that type of threat there. So you got,
more scheme than
yeah,
sound skill.
you
Yeah,
worry about the outside rush on them. And then I just look at it, it's like, see, the Giants got Brian Burns, who Giants stink, but Brian Burns still one of the top edge rushers. So I look at that overall. You see teams focusing on trenches. I really like what they did by adding Tunsil and Cosme's coming back, even though he had a knee injury, the ACL injury. That
yeah.
offensive line, all of a sudden, they give Jaden Daniels time and they improve the weapons. They're a threat.
Mm. I the T Higgins, T Higgins, T Higgins, T Higgins, Cincinnati Bengals, T Higgins. Like, and the reason why I question it is I get it. Cincinnati is a cash strap team. I get it. They're a cash strap team. Why are you putting so much money into your rims? Why are we not building the engine of the car? Why are we not working on the things that make the car go? Why are we not, Hendrickson is available for trade. They lost, I want to say they lost a lineman who had been a mainstay for them for the last few years. I can't think of his name right now. Joe Burrow is a guy that, okay, I get it. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the league, allegedly. But when he had his most success, those 2 years the 2 years where he was the greatest quarterback to ever poop between two shoes, they had a phenomenal defense. They don't have that now. So now we've got basically the Chad Johnson, TJ Houshmandzadeh, Chris Henry, Rudy Johnson, Bengals 2.0. That's what we got. And that Bengals group was a poor man's version of the Indianapolis Colts. This group was a poor man's version of, you can't even think. I mean, Jamar Chase will be phenomenal. Let's say Jamar catches 200 balls, right? 1,700 yards. What do you win? One more game? What do you mean? One
That
more game? And T.
defense.
Higgins doesn't play a full season. Why not trade? Why not get, and this is just me being me, but why not get the Commanders on line one? Squeeze out a deal with them. Send T. Higgins there, right? Uh, take 2 second-round picks. Take penny, not pennies on the dollar, but take a little bit less in the later draft so you don't have to worry about kicking that money out and build your team through defense, which you've had success with before. Why are they signing T. Higgins? Why are they buying rims that spin? Make it make sense, Chris.
It's not even just the fact it's T. Higgins. You look at that defense now and you're like, okay, what are you going to do? It's almost like they realize, well, we can't fix the defense. We might as well have a shootout. So they
I
do
like
that.
that. I like that.
Well,
I like
and
that.
the worst part is with the Trey Hendrickson thing, the more and more they wait, the worse it gets. Because now
Yeah.
you're losing the teams know you got to move on from them because you saw that Danielle Hunter deal. 1 year, 34.5 million. If Danielle Hunter's getting that much money, we saw what Miles Garrett's getting. Trey
Yeah.
Hendrickson's going to get up. He's going to get his bag. So the fact that if you know this is going on, if you knew like, okay, we need to low up on the offense because we need to stay in games by that, why not either go all that way and sell earlier than you did. Move transfer interest. You may not get what you wanted because everybody knows the situation you're in. You may not get what you wanted, but at least you move on. Now you got to worry about. We saw what happened with Son Reddick. Now you got to worry about him going through the same motions. And
Yeah.
even though you have that great offense, you have those receivers. Now the attention is going to go. So, what do you think about Trey Hendrickson thing? Joe, what do you think about it? Jamar, what do you think about it? Trey, T, what do you think about it? Do you think you guys, money that you guys got just affected making your defense work? All those questions are going to linger. So it don't matter if you have that great offense, you want to have that cloud over your team. And that's the last thing he's trying for a coach, a GM, and for his players now who are all under the radar now, under a huge microscope. Not so much the players because they got their back. They're going to stay around. All three of them. But for a GM and a head coach who are now under every focus on them, why are you letting this drag out, and why are you letting this really potentially derail your season early on? So they should have moved. I don't understand their move not moving on earlier or signing him earlier and to get that extension. And I know you wouldn't have the cash, maybe T. Higgins, but at least you'd have some. You put up a fight defensively. I, I don't know. I gotta look up what the record is for most points allowed in a season and points per game. Bengals might be up there next year.
It's to me though, it's all of what you said makes tremendous sense. The bigger issue I take away from it, the big thing I take away from it, just is like, what are we doing? What are we doing, Cincinnati? Where are we going with this? What's the plan? What's move? Sometimes it's okay to move forward. You don't have to, you don't have to have the best two wide receivers every year. When's the last time? Okay, obviously they went to Super Bowl. When was the last time the Bengals had back to back, championship caliber seasons? I can't even think about it. I can't even
You know,
remember it.
Chris Collinsworth years. Those Anthony Munoz, Chris Collinsworth,
Where the
William
back to
Sizer
back
years.
years? I often feel like they catch lightning in a bottle. And you look at that division, and we're gonna get,
Oh
we're
yeah.
gonna. You look at that division, like what are we doing over here? Cleveland is rigged for the taking. They just decided to re-sign Miles. If you're losing with these players, at some point you have to clean house. I get it. You want to keep Miles Garrett, but you're not winning with Miles Garrett. You got an opportunity to draft another edge rusher. He may not be the next. He may not be as good as Miles Garrett, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing. But going back to my point, you got Cleveland in that division. You got Baltimore in that division. And now another team that's about to make a horrendous. Well, I think they're going to make a bad move. Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh? And I didn't want to talk Aaron Rodgers, but I can't kill the Bengals or the Bungles and not question. Everybody's killing Mike Tomlin. He just wants to make the playoffs one year. He just want, and I think it's more than that. But Aaron Rodgers, dog, really?
Remember a couple of years ago where Aaron Rodgers we had the
Yeah,
RELAX. There's
yeah,
something in there.
yeah, yeah,
R E
yeah.
T I
They love
R
that. They
E.
love that on the blogs.
Retire.
Yeah,
Go. I'm tired every year trying to hijack it's so bad. Like if you're worth the headache, you would have been signed by now. Even the Minnesota Vikings, who lost Darnold, we had
yeah,
discussed. They're like, nah, we're good. We'll stick with our rookie JJ McCarthy. To a point now, you're going. My, I know Mike Tomlin has dealt with a lot in his career, character-wise, with some of these players. I mean, Ben wasn't without it. We remember the Ben allegations came out when he was coaching.
yeah,
You look at Antonio Brown, the Killer Bees, when they had to
yeah.
do all that stuff surrounding them. To deal with that headache, no, it ain't worth. It's not worth it at all.
I don't
Like
think
not at
Tomlin's got
all.
a say in it. I think he just, he's going to coach the guys that are there. And if they decide Rogers is going to be there, then he's got to deal with it.
It's uh, uh, and if that's the case, I think they're setting them up for failure. And we know they like Pittsburgh doesn't like to make a move at the coaching position. And if they fail, they don't win, and
Yeah,
they'll go, "Why didn't you do this?" Well, look who we had behind center. We know what the player. I will say this about Rodgers. Players seem to love him.
yeah.
They seem to love him.
Do they?
So
Do they? Do
well,
they?
also yeah, you factor because they do that because he gets a lot of his guys around him, so they're friends with him.
Exactly.
But
Yeah. Go ahead. No, I
it's
interrupted you.
no, you're good. No, I just don't get it. I know you have to have a quarterback. I just don't get it. I don't get the sense in that and having him in. Although Mason Rudolph and I think Aaron Rodgers will get along though, but they'll get
Mason
along.
Rudolph, boy, the Quentin Grimes of the NFL. We got about 8 minutes left, so I want to jump in here. And Brandon Graham retired after 15 seasons with Philadelphia Eagles. And I am a long suffering Eagles fan. And I want to tell this story. As our platform grows, as our show grows, I believe next year will be bigger and will continue to grow more and more. And the reason why those things are going to happen is because of something Brandon Graham did years ago. So just it's a long story. I would apologize in advance, but it's going to be a good one. So I was a radio host in ESPN Philadelphia, 97.5 The Fanatic. And I dropped my first year there, my first few months there, I was dropped right in front of dropped right in the Riley Cooper. I'll kick every nigga's ass back there fiasco. And the backdrop to that was probably one of the worst snake oil salesmen I'd ever come across in sports. The second would probably be Sam Hinkie. The tied for first would be Darryl Moore, but it was Chip Kelly. The Eagles decided to bring in Chip Kelly as head coach, and if City fell in love with Chip's, and they coined this phrase in Chip we trust, right? And he would say things like, "We're from Philadelphia, we fight." Like anything to get the fools going, any type of clickbait, as you will. But behind the scenes, he had an issue with assertive, aggressive players, specifically players of color, but it felt like it was assertive. And he released two of the greatest players. We traded one and released the other. Two of the greatest players in franchise history, greatest running back and LaShawn McCoy. But he released the greatest wide receiver and probably one of the most potent weapons at that time in Deshaun Jackson. And in the process of releasing him, he kicked him on the way out the door, said he had gang affiliations, gang ties. He put out this ridiculous story to disparage Deshaun's character. And Sean never really recovered from it, never really became the player that he was headed to be or projected to be. And there was a lot of negativity around the city, around the team at that time. I had to give you the backdrop. And when they released Deshaun, no one has come out and said this publicly, but now you get the impression that the organization told players not to support Deshaun publicly, not talk about it at least. So Jeremy Maclin, Deshaun McCoy, not Brett Selleck, what was his name? The receiver the tight end that they had, Zach Ertz, right? Nick Foles, everybody's good. Everybody's quiet. But Brandon Graham released a tweet. And he's, said basically, I don't know what's going on, but supporting Deshaun Jackson. He released that tweet. Jason Kelce shortly thereafter released a tweet, said a lot of unpopular moves being made, but I believe in this franchise. I believe in this organization. I believe in this coach. That's what Jason Kelce said. Never forgot it. This was a guy that was standing next to Riley Cooper when he said what he said. And he's a beloved icon in Philly now. But to me, he'll always be the guy that was next to Riley Cooper. Brandon Graham deleted that tweet. Jason Kelce kept his tweet up. I roasted Brandon Graham for that on the radio. Killed him for it. It was on 7 to 8 a.m. And I knew the players listened because Jeremy Maclin made comments about me on his Twitter profile. Brandon Graham didn't respond fire. He didn't return fire. I was waiting for him because I had a copy of the tweet. I was ready to go. He never said anything. You know what he did, Chris? He blocked me. He blocked me on Twitter. And he subsequently blocked every media member on Twitter. You could not follow him. You couldn't see anything he posted. He didn't do any interviews. He said one thing, and I'll never forget it. Positive vibes on me. Keep it positive energy on me. Keep chopping wood, try to get this thing turned around. Up until that point, Brandon Graham wasn't really a bust, but he didn't have the impact that people thought he would have. So as you guys know, Chip Kelly's Eagles floundered, faltered. He was the first coach that Jeffrey Lloyd fired during the middle of the season. And then they brought in a guy named Doug Peterson shortly thereafter. And that thing got turned around. And Brandon Graham delivered one of the signature plays in NFL history in the strip sack of Tom Brady. And all the people's horses and all the people's men couldn't put Tom Brady back together again. And to me, while the play signified It was an example of hard work. To me, it was what Brandon Graham did to get to that point. He eliminated all the negativity. He decided to do something that we've all prayed for. We heard the prayer, God, please allow me to, accept the things I cannot change and know the difference between the two or something along that line. That's what Brandon Graham did. He put his head down and went to work. And he delivered the city of Philadelphia its first ever Super Bowl win. And it's no coincidence that he was one of the pillars, one of the mainstays, one of the foundational pieces of that team, because all that mattered to him was putting the work in and remaining positive every day. For him to retire after winning not one, but two Super Bowls in Philadelphia, playing on three, people need to understand this. Brandon Graham has played in the most Super Bowls of any Philadelphia Eagles player. Why? Because all of them dudes only play in one and never play again. Brandon Graham's been on three. 2 wins, 1 losses. Two wins, 1 loss. Because it was always about positive energy with him. It was always about putting in the work, accepting the things he cannot change, blocking out the negativity, and staying positive. And I don't know if he ever unblocked me on Twitter because I got off of Twitter when I left the radio station. I don't know if he unblocked other media members because most of them, minus Pat Gallen and maybe Tyrone Johnson, aren't in the media landscape anymore. The media's changed. The host, I know Mr. Nelly's back, but the host has changed. And Brandon Graham is walking away, the last man standing, holding his head high. And he's taught guys like me that it's not about being negative. It's about being positive, keeping your head down, putting in the work, and good things will happen. So that's my little Brandon Graham story. I salute him on a fantastic career. I look forward to the day that he's hanging in the Lincoln Financial Field, although I know they're looking to try to get a new stadium. He's the all-time leader in games played. He's third in sacks, which is hilarious considering the fact that he played so many more games than Reggie White, so many more games than William Fuller, so many more games than William Thomas, so many more games, But he has something that none of those guys has. That's a championship. And he's the only Eagles player, all-time Eagles player, to have two. Reggie's only got one. Zeph's only got one. So, and he did it in an Eagles uniform. And that, to me, is a testament to who he is as a man. And the lesson that he taught me will resonate for me, to resonate for my children. And I hope, this makes it to him to, keep your head down, block out that negativity, and the hard work will be your guide. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. I wish I could give you a second, Chris, to chime in. We got less than a minute left, so that's it. If you like the episode, make sure you share, comment, subscribe, like whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. He's Chris Franklin. I'm Kwame Fisher-Jones. Until next week, we appreciate your time and year. You be easy.